back to Tales from the Trail, episode 2. I'm Stephanie Howe, your host for the series, and today we are going to Nevada. And we have special guests with us, Jorge Maravilla, to talk a little bit about his adventures in Nevada and in life in general. So let's just start from the beginning. Jorge, tell us a little bit about you. Where are you from?
Well, I was born in Salvador, but I came here at the young age of 2 to the Central California, San Joaquin Valley. And California, and progressively made my way over to Northern California, where I'd say my greatest and interest and passion for the outdoors is where it began.
So you migrated here. Tell us a little bit about your family.
So I came here. I was born in San Salvador, which is the capital of El Salvador in Central America. My mother brought me in her arms. I was only a year and a half old. And she's, the boldest, bravest, and most incredible woman I've known. Always been adversity and mental strength and capacity, not taking no as an answer and always creating opportunity. It took her, it was a 15-month journey for her to leave my birth country and make money, and make her way to Central California, where she was a farm worker for 20 plus years. And I too myself worked in the farmland. So yeah, every time I make a visit to the produce section of the grocery store, I have a unique experience, let's say.
Yeah, that's the incredible journey to get here. What was it like growing up?
Growing up was really interesting. I think like most children, you don't know any different than the landscape and environment you're placed in. I grew up in in a ranch, honestly. I was raised with only farmlands and agriculture around me. So seeing the different seasons of agriculture evolve and seeing just farm workers and immigrants surrounding me and me being part of that, thread as well. It was really just remote. You had to learn to, also being raised by just a single parent who didn't speak the language, and I had to learn the language in kindergarten. It was a unique experience where I had to grow up rather really, really quick and evolve and just adapt and assimilate in every way.
So I know that climate hasn't been your first step into advocacy. So tell us a little bit about how you first got into your advocacy work and how your mom influenced you to start.
Yeah, well, like I said, growing up in the San Joaquin Valley, we grew up working the farmlands, myself included. I've worked in so many different fruits and vegetables as a child, and just sort of seeing the evolutions of the different years and the product and its impact, that water availability, as well as just seeing that my mother was always a woman who advocated strongly for farm workers and women's rights was what I was always revolved around. And so advocacy was a big part of just my upbringing. At some point, my mother grew a really, really strong passion for Cesar Chavez's United Farm Workers Union. And it played a big role for me in beginning my phases of advocacy, to the point where immediately after high school, rather than going to college, I volunteered for a year and a half at the headquarters office in Tehachapi Mountains, and progressively moved over to Central Coast, Watsonville, and worked on the strawberry campaign to organize and help strawberry farm workers to understand that they had rights and help them to have advocacy and shake the numbers, despite that they were, predominantly illegal immigrants.
So it sounds like from a young age, you really learned how to speak up for things that mattered. And so it's not a new thing for you to talk about things that you're passionate about. And we can really probably thank your mom for instilling a lot of those values.
Absolutely.
To your young childhood. So let's talk a little bit about running now. So running has really become an identity for you. You grew up working on a farm, and then you found running, and that's kind of taken you to the path that you're on today.
Yeah, I'd say it's a really interesting path. It's one that I'm beyond grateful for. And I think that the trajectory and the manner in which it all happened is very unique, as it is for most, but unique in that it's the world. Would have thought that a poor farmer valley would have world. I had an absence in running as well as a young adult, where I gained some weight and was just being a recreational athlete, but I really was still driven by the passion of the outdoors and running. And, at the age of 30, it really kind of kicked off, more so at the age of 32. And ended up testing my boundaries and limitations with different distances and different terrains. And even so now I'm doing that and running hopefully my fastest times in different distances. But, honestly, I understand your statement of how like running has some entity to me, because that's how I'm in some ways presented to the social media world. But running is really cool. I like to just be grounded and neutral and collaborative with others, not necessarily allow my experiences dictate my identity.
Yeah, it sounds like running more provided these opportunities for you to get out of, the place you were living and take you to places all over the country, all over the world.
Yeah.
We've known each other for over 10 years, and we've overlapped in different areas. We've been to Colorado, in Europe, probably many other places. But that's such an incredible opportunity to have, and especially coming from, your upbringing to start in that space and then become, this world traveler who gets to go and fortunate enough to share, their passion and participate in races and talk about, what it means to you. That's a pretty incredible thing.
Yeah. And on that note, it's one of those things where I'm humbled and I'm grateful for all the different places I've traveled and hope to continue traveling, as well as just all the different network of people who have, I would say, played an influential role in inspiring me. And how do I continuously evolve to being the better version of myself? And, one of those things is now being part of an alliance member with POW and seeing like a lot of the different people who have taken the leap of faith to be advocates is like a lot of people who I look up to and who I'm very fortunate to call friends. And just seeing their impact, not only in their running careers, but in their overall perspectives on life is really what's made me think those are the types of alliances I'll make and have. Make a really good impact and difference.
So we know you as a trail runner, kind of dabbled in all the types of running. In terms of, the runners I know, you probably have the most depth of like from cross country to marathons to 100-mile races. That's quite an incredible, genetic capability, talent to have.
Yeah.
I guess, CrossFit, you've done marathons. What really interested in the trails? Like what drew you to the trails? Because it's not like trail running has a lot of money or it has a lot of fame or, a lot of people even follow it. So what really made you go that direction?
Well, thank you. I think I just love running. I think I have a really great relationship with running in that I do dabble in it all because I enjoy it all and I don't like to be limited. And I would say what got me into trail running is just, I think the natural and obvious reasons for people in that the natural landscape is just so enriching and empowering for of the dramatic vertical gains or just like the scenery, the camaraderie, and not to segment the way, but I would say that the cultural vibe of trail running that's very different from road running, having experienced both aspects on the different levels of on the front side of things, if I dare say that, and it's very different culture and it's a very different experience despite that it's the same sport. But I think trail running just has a very purity and a really incredible advocacy for a desire for the natural movement. And I think that's why it's pretty easy for, trail runners to have natural advocacy for our space.
Right, because we love the spaces that we run in. I mean, we get to run in some of the most incredible places, see the most beautiful sunrises and sunsets that, you don't get to see otherwise. And so I think that's a really natural way of thinking about it, and a natural draw to the trails. You're out there because you love it, not because you want to run a certain time or run fast. And so it's something that I share as well, and definitely want to protect because I've seen those special places.
Yeah.
So today we're talking about Nevada. And so that's a good segue into your first 100-mile race. Can you tell us about that?
Well, I think it's something that you could relate to yourself, Stephanie. Humbly speaking.
Well, let's start. What was your first 100-mile race?
The Tahoe Rim Trail, 100-mile.
That takes place in obviously the Tahoe Rim Trail, which is in the Nevada side. And you signed up for it kind of on a whim. Is that what?
Somewhat, to be honest. I had done the 50-mile race there, and with the anticipation that was in 2010. In 2011, I had a desire and goal to test my ability to see if I can run 100 miles. And I remember when I finished the 50-miler, telling myself that when I run 100 miles and when I do multiples of them, I will never do the Tahoe Rim Trail 100 because it's just so hard.
Yeah.
And the thought alone was just, wild. And so, in 2011, when races started kind of filling up a little bit quicker, I went back to that thought. And the mere fact that I found that to be so difficult is why then I told myself I should sign up for it. So I signed up for it just with the mere desire of seeing if I could accomplish the distance and, unlayer a new version of myself at that finish.
You in this 100-mile race?
I finished, and I got a handshake from George, who runs a fantastic event there, and look forward to going back. And I finished it in just a little over 18 hours and did pretty well.
Can you tell us what pretty well means?
I ended up winning the race.
That's a pretty unique club to be in, to win your first 100-mile race, and especially something like the Tahoe Rim Trail, which is, a prestigious and tough mile race. It's not, the one you pick to just get it done and get an easy one done. So that's a little bit about the trail. What was it like? What is the scenery? What is the environment in Nevada like?
It's precious. I mean, it's really pristine. It's got a landscape. It's Tahoe Rim Trail environment where there's just pine trees, boulders, there's sand, there's dry area. In that particular year, there was a little bit of heavy snow. Of course, following the race, change of temperature and what the landscape is during that time of the year. It's gorgeous. If no one has ever run on the trails of Nevada, then they're missing out on a beautiful and incredible landscape that is out there to recreate and play with.
Yeah, it seems like, we think of trails out west, and the popular trails are in California, Oregon, Colorado, and there's, again, like we talked about on Tuesday, another hidden gem in Nevada of these stunning places. Lake Tahoe, the Tahoe Rim Trail, but there are so many other just micro ecosystems and beautiful space land that you can recreate on.
Yeah.
And it's it's one of those extreme environmental changes right now. We've seen a lot more heat, a lot more drought, extreme weather patterns.
Yeah.
I know you don't reside in Nevada, but what have you noticed personally with maybe years coming back to the trail?
Well, one of the things for sure I've noticed is, California, year after year, and even Nevada, we have this time of the year in particular, wildfires, and even as we speak now, is that there just seems to be a more dramatic impact of the weather pattern and effect that's involving each and every year in particular for us, and or what impact it has in the wintertime. We've had a lot of lack of rain, and that's something that has an impact directly to even agriculture, as much as it does for water availability. And it's dramatically changed, and it's very concerning. And it's something that, as much as we all recreate in, it's something that we should all be very attentive and aware of. And how do we play a role in being resourceful and impactful to make an awareness?
It impacts our and these places and the way they do. As we're speaking right now, we are in Nevada and California. You might be able to see behind nothing because it's really hazy and smoky all over the West right now. So just in knowing, like, in the smoke filled environment, it just makes you not want to get on the trails, not want to go recreate, not want to be outside. And that really impacts personal and professional desire as trail runners. How does the smoke and drought affect you?
Well, it certainly makes it be more mindful in terms of what can I do to minimize my impact, as well as bring that awareness to others so that we can all make a difference. I love running. It's a big part of my life. It also isn't completely my identity, where I do love doing alternative other outdoor recreational activities. So, it does makes it very difficult with air quality, just as much as we're also dealing with a pandemic. But this air quality makes it a little bit more challenging, but I think it's also opportunistic to find creative ways to do different things to enjoy the outdoors.
Mm-hmm. So let's talk a little bit about your work or your goals with Protect Our Winters. So you've joined the Protect Our Winters Alliance.
Yeah.
What really motivated you to get involved?
I would say, a lot of what we've been talking about, and that I've been very fortunate to travel the world, meet so many different people, I think really impact me in their ways, and looking up to them and just always wanting to evolve to be a better human, a better global citizen. And I think seeing all the different folks who are involved are people who I think of dearly as friends, and having encouragement and inspiration from them is really made me feel as, not to put the complete weight on my shoulders, but I'm one of very few Latino representatives in our sport. There's very few. And so I always feel like I've always been a positive advocate individual for that cultural representation. And I feel that I can do that in other channels and ways, and why I feel very strongly about joining Protect Our Winters, because the places I recreate as much as my friends do, as much as I genuinely care about our planet, then I need to make a commitment and position myself in a way that I, in English and in Spanish, sort of.
And I think these aren't isolated of, like, environmental justice, racial justice. They're all connected. They all come back to respect and, doing the right thing. And so I think it's really great ability to connect Latino
outdoor state. It doesn't have cultural boundaries. It doesn't have language boundaries. I'm sure you've experienced this in Europe, specifically Chamonix, and I've been able to meet up with people and run with them, and we're smiling and we're joking and we're laughing, and yet we don't even speak the same language, but we're out there embracing the beautiful rain together. And to what's brought in terms of what can I do to protect, as well as just advocate in order to be the change we want to see.
Yeah, I love that. It really does break down barriers.
Yeah.
Hey team, I'm sorry, it sounds like we're having some technical difficulties. Super excited to have you all here, and thank you for staying with us while you figure out our internet issues. In the meantime, my name's Eliza Cowie. I'm the program coordinator at Protect Our Winters. And so if you have any questions about upcoming events or things that we're doing throughout the fall, please send them in the chat, and I can answer questions on that if you would like. Sorry for these technical difficulties, but we'll be right back.
I understand that amplifying our voices and getting people out to vote is the only thing that we can do fast enough to kind of solve these major issues.
Lost them completely. So thank you all for joining us. We will be hosting Another Tales from the Trails upcoming on next week on 8/26 on Tuesday. So please make sure to tune in. We will be joined by Claire Gallagher and Joe Grant. Claire recently won the Western State 100, and Joe Grant, he has a film out called The Middle Way, which is really incredible. Thank you all so much for joining us. I apologize for the internet issues, but when you care about the land so much, sometimes you just have to be out in it. So I hope you all get a chance to get out there tonight, and really appreciate you all coming out. Thank you so much.
I don't know if we're still in, but anyways, if we are, thanks for joining us today. We got through most of our talk. Sorry, our internet cut out. We're in the great outdoors. It's been a little challenging, but thanks to Trail Runner for supporting this episode. And 2 lucky winners from today will get a year-long subscription. And we also want to plug the Make a Plan to Vote tool that we'll wrap up with. And we know that when you pledge to vote, when you make a plan to vote, you're more likely to get out and do it. And so Protect Our Winters has come up with a tool that will guide you through all of these steps and make it seamless for you to share with your friends and family, just to get out there and make a plan, because that's what we need. So thank you guys so much. Again, sorry for the technical difficulties, but hope you enjoyed our little chat about Nevada. Thank you for being here, Jorge.
Thank you for having me.
And make sure to tune in next Tuesday. I'll be talking with Claire Gallagher and Joe Grant on some recent adventures in Colorado, and I will have spot on Wi-Fi, so we'll be all good. Thank you guys.
Ciao.